Taiwan.com. I'm Yvonne, and here's what happened this week. Taiwan's first new one-year conscripts have entered service, signaling a new era for the country's defense. And as Hamilton reports, it'll be the quality, not quantity of training that matters.
Reporting for duty. These young men in Taiwan's city of Taichung are the very first to enter the country's extended one-year military service. And that starts with a new look. For many here, it's mixed emotions.
刚开始接到兵单，到后来就是中间还是会多少有一点点小紧张，那心情有点忐忑。但是来到成功岭之后，就是发现这边真的都很井然有序，然后长官也没有说像之前听前辈说的这么恐怖。
Under Taiwanese law, all men from 18 to 36 must serve 1 year in the military. That was extended from 4 months by President Tsai Ing-wen at the end of 2022, partly due to increasing military threat from China. Beijing continues to threaten the use of force to take over Taiwan, which it claims as part of its territory, and so officials here have pushed for military reform and revamped training to better prepare for a potential conflict.
其实针对4个月的军事训练役跟现在我们要接的1年的义务役，在课程上面安排，我们有在提供更多的一个比较专业的一个领域，包含了进阶战斗，还有快反射击，还有战伤救护，这些都纳入我们这个8周新式的课表里面去实施授课。
China boasts one of the largest militaries in the world, with over 2 million active personnel, dwarfing Taiwan's roughly 170,000 strong military. But Taiwan has over 1.6 million reservists, compared to China's 500,000. And it's these people Taiwan is relying on to bridge the gap in wartime. That's why there's now renewed focus on military training and tactics.
Conscripts in general are going to be lower quality than, say, professional volunteers that stick in the military for multiple years or even their whole careers and develop those skills. So it's not necessarily a matter of equaling that quality, but getting a large number of people the sort of basic prerequisite skills that they can bring and supplement that force.
This one-year conscription period will see soldiers get more hands-on training with weapons and receive better pay than the 4-month program. Some conscripts said the old training was inadequate, even going as far as to describe it as a summer camp. The military says it's taken inspiration from countries like the U.S. to improve its training programs and ensure its soldiers are making the most of their time. Whether they have succeeded will be crucial in determining the outcome of the new one-year program.
If you are tripling the length of conscription from 4 months to 1 year, and those conscripts still view it as a waste of time and a waste of 1 year of their lives, they're going to lose respect for Taiwan's military, and that will go down, in the eyes of Taiwan's society, and that's a very unhealthy dynamic.
As these men get settled into their new home, the military is hoping they'll leave in a year's time, prepared for any future threats to Taiwan's security. And if all goes to plan, Taiwan won't just have more soldiers, but a higher quality military. Joseph Wu and Jaime Okan in Taichung for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan's main opposition party is trying to push through a U-turn on the country's nuclear energy policy, and that's meeting a backlash from environmentalists. Sally Jensen has more.
Weeks after Taiwan's national elections, an old controversy is once again fueling political division, as the largest opposition party makes a bid to change the country's course on nuclear energy. The Kuomintang, or KMT, will have a slight majority in the legislature come May. The party wants to do away with a 5-year application window for starting up the country's shuttered nuclear reactors. The party's former presidential candidate and current mayor of New Taipei City, Hou Youyi, says restarting reactors should be based on safety standards, not time considerations.
我们希望大家都有共识，我们都希望能够在核安安全为底下，不断的逐步的推动，让整个全国的供电
The Nuclear Safety Commission requires operators to apply for a new license 5 years before a reactor's service life reaches 40 years. Currently, Taiwan has 4 nuclear power plants. 2 have been decommissioned, 1 was never completed, and 1 remains running, providing 6% of the country's electricity. Taiwan imports most of its energy, and the KMT wants to raise the country's energy security and self-sufficiency by using more nuclear power. They say this would also help Taiwan meet international green energy commitments. That would be an about turn from the government's current policy. The ruling Democratic Progressive Party plans to end nuclear power in the country for good from next year. It cites safety concerns over nuclear waste management as one reason for the 5-year application review period, which they say would ensure more robust nuclear safety checks.
缩短审查的时间是不是会造成这个在安全问题上面的漏洞跟放水？国民党都应该要回答，而不是像现在这种不负责任的态度去回避。
While the issue is already creating friction in the legislature, some academics say having a fixed review period to extend the service life of reactors isn't needed.
国外也有2年就完成审查的案例啊，就看你管制机关到底需要多长的时间。这5年只是一个数字上面的一个限制啊，并不是真的技术上面的一个限制。
The issue of nuclear power remains highly sensitive among the public, and with the ruling party no longer holding the legislative majority, the outlook for Taiwan's most controversial form of energy will continue to fuel debate. Chris Ma and Sally Jensen for TaiwanPlus.
Flying during the Lunar New Year? Better check your flight. Pilots from one of Taiwan's biggest airlines may be going on strike. Tiffany Wong reports.
As Taiwan heads into its busiest holiday season, thousands of travelers may be left stranded as union pilots from EVA, the country's second-largest airline, prepare to strike. The union and the airline have been locked in a stalemate for months over pay raises and safety regulations. The pilots' strike is now planned for 2 major holiday periods, Lunar New Year in February and Qingming or Tomb Sweeping Festival at the end of March.
我们也持续的会发动2到3次的这个罢工演练，目的就是希望我的会员能够在非常短的时间能够配合工会的指令。
The strike will mostly affect the airline's long-haul international flights from Europe, the US, and Canada. Over 500 EVA pilots are in the union and voted for the action, but they're less than half of the airline's pilots, making the impact of a strike unclear. EVA Air said they're still hoping to reach a consensus with the union before the holidays and are facing pressure from the Transportation Ministry and the Tourism Bureau to protect customers from a potential strike.
要求这个长荣公司因为相关的一个罢工什么时候开始，罢工的时间多久或者是多少人参与等等的，这些都有很多不同的一个情境。
尤其是组团那么他要善尽告知的时间，可能这种准备期确实是短了一点。一方面我尊重现行的法律规定，二方面我们也觉得这应该可以适度调整。
The union says they will give at least 24 hours notice before striking to allow passengers to change their travel plans. The airline said it will give refunds and adjust itineraries for all affected passengers.
With less than 2 weeks before the Lunar New Year holidays, time is ticking for the union and airline to reach a consensus. Both say they're still hoping to avoid a strike and don't want to leave passengers scrambling at the last minute. Luffy Li and Tiffany Wong in Taipei for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan's population is shrinking. This is impacting private universities, which are shutting down whole programs because there just aren't enough students to fill them. Joyce Dunn reports.
不了解男女的特质差异是你要谈恋爱的基本知识。
Fighting to pass down her knowledge of literature before her program gets cut. Daihua Xuan is a professor at a private university with Taiwan's very first Taiwanese literature department. After 26 years, the program is struggling to stay open.
我们却没有办法好好把我们的专业发挥在或者说培育下一代，因为少子化，我必须被迫选择离开我自己很爱的这个职业。
Taiwan has one of the lowest birth rates in the world, thinning out the country's talent pool. That's been particularly hard for private universities, which traditionally outnumber public ones in Taiwan. More of them have had to stop teaching certain courses to focus on degrees with better job prospects. Several institutions have had to shut down completely, failing to enroll enough students. This year, a record 4 private schools are set to suspend all classes.
这是我们私人兴学的过程中，因为政府没有承担责任， 然后叫私人自己兴学，透过学费办学的一个社会结果啦。
Adjusting tuition fees hasn't been enough to survive such dire student numbers. Since 2019, the number of college freshmen in Taiwan shrank from over 230,000 to barely 190,000, and officials expect this to drop even more. The first courses to be slashed have been disciplines like literature, making some of its few students left even more motivated to protect it.
因为我会写东西，我可能就是会写东西，写文章，帮这个系留个记录。毕竟我对它其实是有一定程度的感情。
If Taiwan can't boost its birth rates, private universities will have to push more technical classes that meet market demand to stay afloat. And so cultural courses like DIES will keep struggling to survive, a blow to Taiwan's cultural heritage and the people who've dedicated their lives to keeping it alive. Scott Huang and Joyce Zhen for TaiwanPlus.
A campaign to legalize surrogacy in Taiwan could be moving forward, but as John Van Trieste reports, the issue is proving deeply divisive.
Labs like this are at the center of one of Taiwan's biggest social and political dilemmas. Here, women get pregnant with other people's children, and they're often paid to do it. This practice, called surrogacy, is legal in many parts of the world. But in Taiwan, the law's ambiguous, neither outright banning it nor permitting it. But with strong voices for and against surrogacy in Taiwan, that could soon change. Opponents worry about ethics, especially the idea of women being exploited for their bodies.
台湾不应该把另外一个女性当成工具，或者好像一个自动贩卖机一样，投入金钱就可以购买婴儿。
只因为我付钱，就希望就能够买到一个孩子。我们也听到过，因为这个孩子生下来不如我的预期，或者有一点早产，我就不要了。
There's opposition on religious grounds, too. The Pope recently called the practice deplorable and called for a worldwide ban. An alliance of groups opposed to the practice say the public's on their side. On Monday, they released a survey with close to 8,000 valid responses. Over 80% said they're against legalizing surrogacy. But a range of people, including LGBTQ+ couples and those with fertility issues, see surrogacy as one of the only ways to start a family. Every year, Taiwanese people go abroad to find surrogate mothers, a practice Taiwan's government doesn't object to. Sophia Lin is the founder of one group that matches Taiwanese women with surrogates in Ukraine and Kazakhstan. She says hiring a surrogate isn't something the women she works with take lightly. It's something she knows from her own experience, too.
对于反对代孕的这些团体，他们认为说我们可以去领养。你知道我在去乌克兰代孕之前，我是被领养团体拒绝的。我们甚至也有不少来参加我们分享会的这些朋友，甚至曾经去上过领养团体的课程，是上到一半，然后被淘汰了。
And Sophia says foreign governments carefully vet both the surrogates and the Taiwanese women hiring them, checking eligibility and making sure no one is exploiting anyone else. Sophia says it's time Taiwan starts doing the same.
他们说他们已经生了2个孩子了，生产的过程中并没有产生任何的不舒服啦，或者是任何不良的影响，所以他觉得可以替别人生一个孩子，然后又可以赚到微薄的补偿金。他觉得非常的有意义。
Advocates like her have seen some political momentum on their side. Politicians like Taiwan People's Party Chair Ko Wen-je have endorsed legalization and made it part of recent election campaigns. And in December, the legislature's Public Health Committee approved a draft amendment that would legalize the practice. But the government wants a consensus before it goes any further.
社会上对于代理孕母这件事情还是有许多不同的看法。以这一次的选举的过程当中，那各个政党其实就是说对于代理孕母的态度也都不尽相同。
The Health Ministry is planning 2 public hearings on the issue after the Lunar New Year in February. But with a line so sharply drawn, the consensus it's looking for may prove hard to reach. John Su and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
Thank you for watching Here's What Happened. I'm Yvonne Yang. Take care, and I'll see you next time.